You are going to love this next guest because I feel like it was just yesterday I was talking about him and his minors because they were going bowling. They were putting massive fans in the seats. It was wild. It was crazy. It was plus 20 years ago. And now here he is. He's coming back. I can't believe it. But after all these years, we get Jon Dorenbos back in El Paso on Saturday as part of the Orange Fever Fiesta, which is still, by the way, tickets still available. You got very limited seats, but if you go to utepminers.com/OFF, you can purchase some seats and be a part of this. Hey, Jon, it is great to see you via Zoom. And man, I can't wait to see you Saturday. It's going to be awesome.
Hey, total rock star. It's been too long since I've been back in El Paso, so super excited to get back.
I'm going to start it off with a really tough question for you, all right? As your Magic career has taken off over the years, why have you never been able to make UTEP football a winning program via Magic? Man. I mean, you've got a lot of tricks up your sleeve. Why did you not do this years ago?
Yeah, I asked myself the same question. Trust me. You and me both, buddy.
All I can tell you is this. Things are good now. Coming off a 7-win season, a bowl game. We got high expectations this year with Dana Dimmel. It seems like after all these years, Jon, UTEP football is now heading in the direction that people have been begging for forever.
Well, and since 20 years ago, now that you point that out, right? I'll say this, like my experience there, I got there in 2000. I was a part of the WAC championship season, Rocky Perez, and a lot of great players. So I know this, that when UTEP is winning, that city is amazing to be a part of. It's electrifying. The Sun Bowl was amazing. So like you and everybody else, I'm hoping they come off a 7-win season in a bowl game and come in and just kick it back like they did in 2000.
I loved 2000. First off, think about 2000 for a second. We had Y2K. We were worried that we were going to get destroyed and every computer that we had then was going to go under. Cell phones were in their infancy, no social media. Life was so different, but you said it best. UTEP football was rocking in 2000. I remember like it was yesterday because Gary Nord takes over for Charlie Bailey and right out of the gate has that magical season with you, with Rocky, and I think Lee Mays was on that team. There's so many others. And next thing you know, the Miners find themselves going bowling.
Hey, Brian Nacken,
yep.
Trey Merkins, the Clayton brothers, Jeff Seaton. Dude, we had a lot of great players on that team. And so, I had a great time playing for Gary Nord. It was one of the best times of my life. You know, you just mentioned a few things about that time. I remember my senior year in high school was just not too prior to that. And was it still dial-up internet?
Yes, absolutely.
Like, think about that. I mean, there was there was really no internet back then.
No, it was dial-up and it was AOL. Everything was AOL, and that was the big deal back then. And you're 100% correct. We had an AP Wire machine. That's how we got our sports news. AP Wire headlines were coming off every 10 minutes, and that's how we didn't have what we have now. It wasn't even close.
Definitely no email. I'll tell you that right now. Slug mail.
That's right. That's a good way to put it. Your UTEP career, though, you made the most of it. That's for sure. A lot of great memories, and you talked about some of them. First off, I love the vintage jerseys. You got a screen right now that shows the old UTEP logo. You're in that navy blue jersey with the orange and white trim. You got the WAC patch on there. That is phenomenal. What are you doing? By the way, what's that picture of you standing up pointing? What are you doing there?
So this game, what side is it? This game was actually against Hawaii. It was kickoff return. I was about to set the old school wedge for probably Sherman Austin. And we were pointing out the dudes because I remember it because I photoshopped this. And then this was my first game. It was against Oklahoma in 2000 at Oklahoma, of which we gave them a run for the money up until like halftime. We were like winning. And then it just went south after that. So, but I like the old school, man.
I do too. And you scared Oklahoma. That's the best way to put it. You put fear in the Sooners for the first half, who, by the way, UTEP plays Oklahoma coming up this season. That's their second game of the year.
Love it. The thing that was cool for Oklahoma, my whole life, I wanted to play in front of 100,000 people. Since I started football, I thought it'd be cool to play in front of 100,000 people. First college game ever. I was playing against Oklahoma in Oklahoma, and it was like 98,600 and some change. And I was like, oh, so close, 2,000 short. But it was a trip, man. It was cool.
Jon Dorenbos with us here, former Miner, former NFL vet. He's also an author of the book, Life is Magic, came out a couple of years ago. My inspiring journey from tragedy to self-discovery. Was the book something that you had been thinking about a lot after your football career ended? Or tell me a little bit about what made you decide to write Life is Magic.
Throughout my life, I've come in contact with different people that have all said, hey, you should write a book. You should write a book. And just didn't come across the right people. And so finally, a guy named Mike Tolan, who did The Last Dance, he did Coach Carter, he did Radio, a bunch of great movies and projects. He said, hey, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I said, Mike, I've been a fan of yours. If you want to do this, what would you do? He said, go to Larry Platt. If Larry Platt writes the book, I think he'll capture your voice. I'll pick up the movie. And I was like, done. And so that is what steamrolled it.
Awesome. And the book did very well for yourself. So congratulations on that. And I don't know what's been more, I guess, for you, when you look back on your career, both as a football player and now as a magician that tours all over the world, what are you more proud about? You proud about just the legacy you left on the football field, or what you're doing now in terms of just being, a world-renowned magician?
I'll tell you what I'm proud of. This was probably the most proud moment of my career. I was in training camp with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2016, and I was filming America's Got Talent in LA. And I was flying back and forth, didn't miss a practice, didn't miss a meeting, didn't miss a rehearsal. And it was like two careers when I was a kid that people would be like, oh, you'll probably never make it. You know what I mean? Oh, magicians don't make any money. To make it to the NFL. And it just kind of like this moment where I played in Sunday football against Cleveland, took a plane to then go film on the #1 TV show in the world doing magic. And it was both my loves on the highest stages simultaneously. It was cool because I became an example that you can have multiple careers, you can do multiple things, and you can have success in both of them if you just try.
Were the Eagles concerned at all about you having to do so much of that? Or had they given you their blessing and said, you know what, Jon, go for it?
Well, they didn't even know I did the show. And so I did the show. I got a gold buzzer. If you watch America's Got Talent, it puts you right to the live show. Well, that was filmed like April, May, but that episode wasn't going to air till July. So the Eagles didn't know, I don't think, until that aired. And it was right before training camp. So now I'm like, okay, I don't really know what I'm going to do. And am I going to opt out? Am I not going to opt out? And then the Eagles came to me, Jeff Lurie, the owner, and Howie Roseman, Don Smolinski, the president, and Frank Kamieni. And they also, and led by Jeff Lurie, the owner, they were like, hey, this is a big part of your life.
Yeah.
We want to support who you are. So if you can make this work, let us know. And I'll never forget this. It was like the subtle complimentive dig. Jeff Lurie looked at me and goes, I mean, let's be honest, Dorenbos, it's not like you're the quarterback or anything. I mean, what do you really do? So it was perfect.
Have you performed for Jeff before? Was he already familiar with everything you could do as a magician?
Oh yeah, because when I got to Philly, I realized this. I'm a long snapper, which means I'm doing this much on the football side. But I knew that I had a talent that I could bring value to the organization on the advertising and sponsorship side. And all I wanted to do was create an opportunity that they would think twice about getting rid of me to bring in somebody younger and cheaper as a snapper. So if I could show my value and help get advertisers, sponsors, and community relations, then I think that would help me keep my job as a long snapper. And so sure enough, I became the #1 requested guy with the major sponsors and the major corporate events to MC and to perform at these things. And I think that if you can bring value on different sides of the business, you're just helping yourself with longevity.
I love that. Jon Dorenbos with us here on Sports Talk. He'll be back in El Paso this Saturday, part of Orange Fever Fiesta. It's the big event, and tickets still available right now, utepminers.com/OFF. But they're selling out quick, and Saturday is going to be amazing. It's going to be like an hour show, Jon. You're putting together an hour performance for El Paso and for Miner fans and all the UTEP connections that's going to be out there. That's going to be awesome as well.
Yeah, Hotel Paso del Norte. We will be there 6 p.m. Saturday. Get your tickets. I might go a little over an hour. Don't tell anybody. If it happens, It happens. I'm excited to come back. I'm excited to share my story, excited to do some magic, excited to meet the fans, and excited to help. Really, what is this all about? UTEP was a huge stepping stone for me, not just professionally, but personally in my journey and in my life. So to be able to come back, all the proceeds go towards scholarships for student athletes. And that's super important to know that all the proceeds are going to go help kids that were in my shoes that just want to make something out of their life. So come be a part of it. It's going to be a great night. I will be there, and you should too.
That is the greatest selling point I've heard so far, is that it's going for student athletes. Because the fact is this, you do this all over the world, you get great money for your act, and you could have done that here, but you decided, you know what? I want this to all go to football, to athletes. And that's just like yourself. I mean, it's almost like you're going back to your roots with this performance here on Saturday.
Yeah, and look, we talked, and when they contacted us, there was a negotiation, and it was basically like, hey, whatever you're going to pay me, we're going to donate right back. So we're also giving back. We're not making any money. It's all going towards the kids, and I'm proud to be a part of that.
When you were long snapper at UTEP, who was your punter? Who was your kicker back then?
Glenn Beard from Mississippi, and then we had Ricky Bishop, and we had Keith. Oh my gosh. Keith, my senior year was Keith. He hit the 57-yarder to beat Rice at the Sun Bowl Stadium, which might be the longest field goal I've snapped to date. And it was a little bit of a high snap, but we don't talk about that. But Glenn Beard was the punter.
Okay.
Bryce Benecos was also the punter. After
Bryce.
Glenn left, it was Bryce. Oh, he was a beast. So I got to play with a lot of really cool people. Brian Knack and Trey Merkins. Trey Merkins was a middle linebacker, probably one of the hardest hitting people I've ever seen in my entire life. I got to play with him too.
What was it like playing for Gary Nord? Because here's the thing about Gary, okay? I remember when he was recruiting players and he first arrived, he told us in the media that I take Polaroids of them without a shirt on, and then I keep those Polaroids and I start shuffling them around to see how their bodies are going to grow. Now, granted, we thought it was a little creepy at the time. We're like, I don't know if you really want to share that to the members of the media, but hey, that was how he was able to kind of project growth by just looking at a physical trait of a player with a Polaroid. That's how he did it. So I'm sure he probably took one of you and everybody else. And yet Gary just seemed to have that magic touch, especially when he first arrived, that took that UTEP team to a bowl game.
Well, think about this, right? Because when I was in Philadelphia, we got Chip Kelly, and in like that 2000, I forgot what year it was. Let's call it 2013-ish. Sports science was like this huge thing. And guess what sports science did? They took pictures of you, and they monitored your growth, and they saw all this stuff. So you ask me, Coach Nord was ahead of his time, man. I think it was brilliant because the reality is you're with these people that are growing up and becoming men. And the reality is if you get somebody as a 17, 18-year-old, you need to know what they're going to look like 19, 20, 21 and how they're going to develop, because that's really the player you're going to be getting. How
did Paso treat you all the years you were here at UTEP?
Amazing. I had some of the best times of my life in El Paso. The people were amazing. For me, one of the experiences that I thoroughly enjoyed was, look, I grew up in Southern California, flip-flops and palm trees, you know what I mean? And so to go from the Southern California life to the El Paso life, which is completely different culture, completely different way of living, I loved it. It broadened my horizons. I got to meet wonderful people, and I loved every bit of it.
I still think about what happened to you after you were traded from Philadelphia. You're really the health scare that ended your football career, but luckily did not end your life, because you talked about how serious that was at the time. And, you were fortunate, because sometimes things like this don't get detected until it's too late. So I guess, John, really the fortunate part about this whole story for you is that they were able to catch the issue, correct it. And even though it really never gave you the chance to continue playing professional football, you've had an incredible life following the surgery.
Yeah. And the hidden lesson on that was I did America's Got Talent, and I got a call that Simon Cowell wanted me to host America's Got Talent. Nick Cannon had left. And so it was like, that was the dream job. If I get that job, I quit. And Simon, man, he pushed for me, was a huge advocate. Ultimately, they ended up going with Tyra Banks. It is what it is. Here's the beautiful part about that. I didn't get my dream job. So I went back to playing football. And then I got traded. And then my life got saved. Had I got my dream job and I thought the world was just rolling, I'd probably die. And it's just like John Ritter, Alan Thicke, and Bill Paxton, who were famous actors that had what I had. So, the moral of the story, Garth Brooks has a song called Unanswered Prayers, that sometimes when we want something in life and we don't get it, it might be the best thing that's ever happened to you. So just let it play out and see where life takes you.
That being said, is it still the dream to host a reality show like this and one day become that star?
Oh, absolutely. Look, to host America's Got Talent would be amazing. I will say this. I'm friends with Terry Crews. He's an ex-NFL guy. They could not have got a better host. That guy is phenomenal at what he does. He's a beast. And so, but yeah, to do that would be an awesome job.
All right. Before I wrap things up, I got to ask you this, okay? For people that are listening to this conversation, but have never seen you perform live and are kind of like, they're interested now. They're like, wow, John's coming back. He's going to be doing magic. What's the best way to describe what your show here will be like on Saturday night?
Yeah. It's probably not what you expect, and hopefully all the ways that you're hoping. And that is, my show is my life story. It's my journey, and it's the magic I learned along the way. So I don't do the dancing girls and the boxes and what I look, the cheesy magic. I love it. It's just not me. And so the tricks usually have a purpose in a story. It has a purpose in what motivated me. And so I promise you, you're going to see great tricks. I promise you that you're going to hear my life story. I hope that you laugh, you cry. I hope you reflect on your decisions. I'm going to talk about the day that 28 years later, I went to forgive my dad right before I had a baby and what that did for me. So I hope that people leave my show feeling better about themselves in a certain aspect of their life than when they got there. If I did that, then boom, that's a home run.
Any interest in ever doing this on Broadway?
Yeah, we've actually had conversations, Broadway, Vegas, keynote speaking is kind of my core business now. And so I do it. I do the casino gigs as well. It's a lot of work. You have 10 people that work for you and you got a crew and you're doing all this stuff. But the one-man Broadway show has been in discussion.
All right. That's good to know. And by the way, Eagles had a great draft. I'm sure that's still the team that you follow more than anybody. They swung the big trade on draft day, made a lot of headlines there, and feel like Philly's lined up pretty well to make a good run in the NFC East this year.
Yeah, let's hope so. Look, I'm the Eagles. I was there a long time, right? So I'm proud to say I broke a franchise record, or I tied a franchise record for most consecutive games ever played. And so Jeff Lurie's been amazing to me. I do keep up with them. And if anybody asks me, are you an Eagles fan? I'm like, heck yeah, I'm an Eagles fan. Are you kidding me? So I was stoked to go. I got to read the 3rd round pick at the draft, which was super cool. So I'm excited to see Nakobe Dean and what he's going to do. And we'll see how this thing plays out. But ultimately, I will say this, I played long enough to know. Doesn't matter how good you think your draft is on paper. When you put pads on, dude, it is a different level from college to the pros. And until you get in games, not preseason, until you get in games and you experience the speed, because there's a lot of college players that were okay college players that end up being great pro players. Then there's great college players that don't really turn out to be great pro players. So once the bullets start flying, that's when you know who's who.
Terrific stuff, Jon. Enjoyed the conversation. We'll look forward to seeing you here Saturday night as you perform for Orange Fever Fiesta.
That's right, baby. I'll be there, and so should you.